Hello everybody, thank you so much for coming out and watching another video. This is Jamal93, y'all. That is my YouTube name. This is a channel dedicated to talking about my experience as a person of color traveling the world, LGBTQ, and living in places like China. So if you're interested in videos like this, please comment, like, subscribe, and check in for more videos because I'm going to try to be very proactive in uploading videos, and I have very interesting topics to talk about. So, as you can probably tell from the title, today's episode will be talking about work culture. So I've been living in China for about 4 years now, on and off, and I have 1 year of experience working professionally. So I like to talk a little bit about my experiences working in China and essentially just give the tea, if you will, about what to expect working for Chinese enterprises and also working for foreign enterprises, because I do have experience working in both. I'm going to talk a little bit about Chinese work culture, and I'm also going to talk about salaries, what to expect depending on the area that you're in, the experience that you bring to the table, and also I'll talk a little bit about, platforms on which one might find a job. So let's get into it. Had to go grab my glasses really quick because I have some notes. Okay, just a heads up, so this area that I'm in right now, this is my balcony of my apartment, and there was just a noise. So if you hear a clunk noise, it's because I'm in a balcony, and right across the street, I can probably show you, they are building a school. Well, there's a school that's starting to be built, I suppose. The school's already built, I should say, but they are here adding on. So if you hear some loud noises, please, forgive me. This is the only place where I have an okay amount of sunlight. I have literally 2, 4, 6 windows that kind of make my balcony a little bit bright. So yeah. Also I wanted to say, this video in no way should be the precedent as to what everybody experience will be if you're coming to China in terms of work culture, etc, etc, etc. This is just my experience, and I'm going to talk about my experience, and perhaps you can go from there, and then you can make your own conclusions. And obviously if you come to China and work in China, you'll develop your own opinion. So just wanted to make that be known before we go into the details. Alright, part 1. Work culture in China. So work culture in China is very interesting. I think overall in Asia, work culture is very interesting. But today we're only going to be talking about China, obviously. So in China, in my experience, everybody is extremely hardworking because of the competition. So you have people working really hard in college. I recently graduated from Peking University. You have people graduating studying really hard to get into these schools, first of all, and then after graduating and getting into really nice places, for example, like Lenovo, people are going to, Shanghai or Shenzhen or whatever, just to pursue their career like everywhere else in the world. But I think in China, it's a little bit different because the competition is insane. Last time I checked, it's probably higher, but there are 1.6 billion people that live in this country alone. So you have 1.6 billion people that are looking for jobs. So that basically says everything for itself, I guess, about the competition. I think it's normal to expect that you work from 9 to 5, but in many cases, especially in Chinese companies, that's not all the time you'll work. I have friends, for example, that are foreigners and are also Chinese who work from 9 to 9. It's just because everybody else is doing it, and if you don't work overtime, then that means that in many cases it means that you're not working really hard, or you're not working hard enough. Overtime culture itself is a very interesting topic, and I could probably make a whole video on that. But I think that is the most stressful aspect about working in China, is the expectation that if you're working for a Chinese company, that you have to work overtime. I used to work for a company called H&A Group, which is an island in the south of China, which is right next to Vietnam. And I was only working as an intern, so I would finish my work between 9 to 5, and I would leave at 5. After a while, my boss came, he sat me down and said, "Chris, where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going home. It's 5 o'clock. That's the contract that I signed. I signed a contract from 9 to 5. What's the problem?" And he would say, no, you can't leave. In China, you just can't do that. You have to stay at least until 6 or 7. And I would say, why? Why is that? And he's like, oh, just because, this is it's custom in China that one does that. He gave his other reasons as to why. One of the reasons was that, if I wanted to get promotions in the company, if I leave early, then that says to the boss that I don't have 领导的能力, which basically translates as potential, and the potential to be a leader in the future because I am leaving on time. Okay, guys, second point of working for China in terms of Chinese work culture, sorry, there's another noise, as I said, would be the friendship aspect. I guess the closeness that one has with one's colleagues or whatever. I think in a Western context, it's more distant. For example, when you're done with work, you go home. There's a strong line between your work-life balance and your work and your professional life. In China, in many ways, I think those lines are blurred. Because, and it all starts when you arrive at a company, because in China, companies communicate. I think it's safe to say that all companies communicate with each other, intercommunications through a platform called WeChat. WeChat is, I think I said this earlier, is basically the Chinese Facebook. It's like the messenger. So everybody communicates all things. For example, let's just say if one of you that are watching this video were sitting across from me, or maybe in another side of the company, like the other side of the building, I needed to talk to you. I wouldn't necessarily, unless it were something long, or even if it is something long, if it were something that I could just get on really quick, okay, WeChat, hey, so-and-so, could you please send me this, or could you please do this for me, or, we have this client that needs this, could you please, go back, do you remember this person, blah, 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 right on my phone, send it to you, you get it, you look at it, and then if you have time, you take it, you do it, and whatever. Versus in America, if we need something from someone, we wouldn't necessarily text someone's phone. I think we would go through a more, I guess, I don't want to say professional, because I don't think it's unprofessional to use WeChat or use text messaging to ask something from someone in a professional context. But I think the expectation is that if you require something from me, that you would do it through an email. So in China, it's totally okay to do it through WeChat. In the job I am in today is in a Western company. I'm in consulting, and my Chinese colleagues and even my foreign colleagues, I think we're all used to it. If we need something, we'll text each other on WeChat and we'll send it through. And our office is pretty small. So the WeChat aspect of it is that it's a close relationship, and then also the closeness, it reflects in terms of the relationship that you have with your boss. In China, in many ways, it's very common that your boss asks personal questions. They don't want to just work with you. I mean, they want to know you. They want to get to know you. They may ask you, hey, are you married? Do you have a girlfriend? XYZ. These questions are totally they're on limits, not off limits, on limits. Okay, so be prepared for that. And it's quite shocking. I remember the first day that I started working for my company in H&A, last year in my internship, the first day I got there, people asked me, do you have a girlfriend? And I was like, ooh, I don't know if I want to talk about that, because I obviously I'm not straight at all, so I thought it would be a little bit uncomfortable, and maybe it would be the first day I'm arriving. I just flew into landed on the island, meeting the manager for the first time, having a cheers, he took us out to dinner. He's like, so tell me about your girlfriend. I'm like, bruh, if you only knew, bruh. But I'm like, yeah, is it appropriate to ask me this question the first time we meet? I didn't feel really comfortable with that, but it's totally okay in China. People just want to get to know you. They just want to talk to you, see who you are, make the relationship really close. It's also really common that people in China, bosses, they invite you out to drink. Now, drinking culture in a Chinese context, in a work context, it's very, very interesting, and sometimes it's forced. So, for example, in many ways in Chinese companies, you'll be on a team. You'll be on a team in groups and stuff like that. And sometimes the bosses will invite everybody out, and then everybody will go up. Okay, so this is gonna represent. This is for my glasses, to clean my glasses. But this is gonna represent some alcohol, 白酒, okay? So what we'll do is, like, when we go and we're sitting down and we're having a good time and stuff, and all of a sudden, you know, the team leader, and my team leader, her name was Phoebe, she would say, 来,大家起来. So everybody get up, come on, we gotta go to the boss and say hi. So we would literally go, and we would go, hey, 你好, hey, 老板, or whatever his name is. We were like, 辛苦了, basically, like, you know, and, you know, talking to him or whatever, and toasting and drinking and stuff, and you know, and it's very common, and then it's encouraged to drink. But sometimes there are people who don't drink alcohol, and I have friends who are Chinese who couldn't drink alcohol, but it's still expected that you do it. It's still expected that you let loose and have time, you know, just enjoy the time and go and drink and chill. This doesn't happen every single day, so don't think that this happens every day. But there are occasions when, even, you know, in foreign companies, I see that this happens. Like in the company I'm in now, like I think it's very okay that, you know, we just take the time off from the stressful environment that we're in, just to have a good time and just drink and chill. And it's expected that you participate, and it's expected that you drink, and it's expected sometimes that you know, yeah, so that's a whole topic in itself, like how to let loose with your boss, and, you know, and how to hold a cup, for example. I would in China, I don't have, okay, this is my second cup. So this guy right here is the boss. This guy is Chris, okay? So the boss is preparing to cheer me or whatever, and I would take my cup and I would put it underneath his to show him respect, to show him or her respect. You know, I wouldn't go up at the same level. I would go underneath just to show them a little bit more respect. So I would like that. So yeah, and I was scolded by one of my colleagues for that one time. From going, hey, cheers, and they're like, no, that's not okay. You should be respectful. So that was that was very interesting. So now, even when I'm out and about, so I went home last year for a month after I graduated from undergrad, and I applied for my visa to come back to work in China. I even, with my American friends, I'm like, hey, down, I respect you. And they're like, Chris, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, so yeah, so it's very common, to wrap it up, that people ask you personal questions in a workspace. It's very common. They want to know who you are. They want to know, you know, because you're going to be spending a lot of time. Like I just said, you're going to be working overtime. You're going to be spending a lot of time working with these people. They want to know who you are. They want to know, like, you know, if you're married, and these questions are okay in Chinese context. They just want to get to know you, and let's not be so rough with each other because we have to spend so much time together. Let's just chill and just ask these questions. It's totally for game. It's so nice. Your colleagues, like, if you need something, you know, it's so they feel comfortable walking up and asking you for a favor. They feel comfortable talking to you. They feel comfortable, you know, I don't think they would abuse it, but if they need something in China, and this is not only in a work context, this is just in general, a friendship context. Chinese people, in my opinion, are, and out of all the countries that I travel to, and maybe even India as well, are the most loyal and friendliest people that I've ever met in my life. And I think it's changed me and made me a more friendly and loyal person. If your friend needs something for you, you do it. Because I got your back, you got me. If I go out to eat with you, and I take you out to eat, and I buy you a meal, and this is very common in China, treating people out to meals, I expect that next time you do the same. Because I got your back, so you should have my back, right? Whereas in America, I think people, if I take you out to eat, that doesn't necessarily mean, like, you'd be like, oh, thanks, it's really nice. Maybe you may think that I want something from you. Or maybe you just like, oh, that was a kind gesture that I don't necessarily have to return, right? The favor. But in China, it's very, very common that people take you, and they won't say it to you, like, oh, you have to treat me. But it's like, hey, like, come on, I took you out to eat, I'm your friend, I'm paying it forward in a relationship, you should do the same. And that reflects back in a professional context as well. And I really do appreciate that. Whenever I do leave China, I'm gonna miss that a lot, because I really do feel that, it could be 3 o'clock in the morning, and if I need something from my friends will hit me up. Like, I mean, I would message them and I'd say, hey, I need help, I'm in trouble. I've had people send me taxis sometimes because I've gotten hurt outside at night, or they said I was sick, and people sent me air, purifiers. They sent me medicine, and they're in different parts of the country. You know what I mean? It's like in China, it's like people have you. If you make friends in China, if you speak the language and you do your part and reach out in a professional context and in a personal context, people have your back. So that is something that I really, really appreciate about working in China. Okay, so I thought for a little bit about how I was going to talk about this. This is the, the salary aspect of working in China. I think it all depends. And honestly, I can't go too deep into it, but it has a lot to do with passport politics as well. I mean, that itself is very controversial. It also has something to do about the industry you're in, and there's a lot that I could talk about. That's, like I said, it's a whole different. I could spend an hour talking about that, but I'm only going to break it down in terms of like what to expect as a foreigner. Again, it depends on where you come from, what credentials you have, and I'm just being really honest with you. It like these I guess pockets of your candidacy matter. I think teaching English can be considered to be working for Chinese companies because but we'll just say teaching English itself is working for a Chinese company. I think it is expected, like the salary that you would get for teaching English, it should be, like I should say this first, are considered to be the highest paid jobs. No matter what you're doing, I think teaching English you can expect to get the highest pay. So for example, I have friends who are here who have their housing covered. They have about maybe 25 to 30,000 kwai a month, which can be, I don't know, I'll write it below, like what the conversion is. And then they have all the support, flight vouchers and stuff when they come to and from. So like in English, the demand for students learning English here is very, very high. So it's very, 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 very easy to get an English teaching job here. So I think you can expect to make around maybe $2,500 a month, and that's rough. That's like, I mean, I could be totally off, but I'm guessing this is an okay salary, and especially if you have your housing paid for. I can go into another. Maybe you guys can write comments about what other things about China would you like to know, and I can make specific videos about that. For example, about housing and and other things, but. In many ways, when you work, that's part of your package. So working for a Chinese company, for example, Huawei, or maybe Lenovo, or Baidu, or like maybe Haihang, all these other companies. I wasn't only an intern, so I didn't necessarily make a full salary wage. To be honest, when I was interning, I worked I worked from 9 to 5 every day, and I made $400 a month. Now that was a little, but that sounds horrible, right? But my housing was paid for, and I was in a very, very cheap place where I was drinking basically coconut water every day for how much? 16 cents. So that's a lot. I mean, for an intern, and all I have to do is work from 9 to 5 and write my thesis. So that was really cool. Full-time, I think, depending, like I said, on where you come from, what credentials you bring, etc., 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 I think the average salary is between 10,000 and 20,000 kwai before tax. And in China, foreigners typically, depending on the industry, again, their after tax, their salary is usually higher, because we are not paying into we pay into a pension in China, but we don't necessarily, we get that back. We get 80% of that back when we leave China, because at this moment in time, there's no way for us to have dual citizenship in China. So it's a bit difficult to, I guess, permanently invest in a country and retire here, unless you have a really, really, really good, investment or companies and stuff like that here. So that is I guess the range I could say, depending on what industry you're in. And it's a lot. It's a lot of money, to be quite honest. I have a lot of friends who who are Chinese, and they told me, if you're making 10,000 kwai, that's a lot of money. 10,000 kwai. A lot of people make that normally, like 10,000 kwai. But for a foreigner, I think 10,000 kwai itself would not necessarily be considered enough money, because if you're looking at it from a foreign context, especially coming from cities like New York or Paris or London, 10,000 kwai is not going to get you far, especially when you're paying like 900 pounds in housing, or 900 euros, or maybe $700 a month in rent for like a little box somewhere in Brooklyn or something. You know what I mean? So it's all contingent, but salaries are negotiable. They should be. I think everywhere you should push for a higher salary, especially with the credentials. Yeah. So it all depends. I think the English teaching job, to basically wrap it up, are the highest paid jobs. In my opinion, they're the easiest to get, and they're the highest paid, and they have the most benefits, and they have a lot of vacation days. So there's nothing wrong with having a gap year teaching English in China. Actually, one of the most influential people that I met in 2017 was a UK appointed ambassador, to China. And she told me that when she came in the 80s, she started basically her career. She finished undergrad, came right to China, and then she taught English for a few years. And the kids that she taught are now her godchildren, so it was really, really interesting to hear her story, and she inspired me, because I've always had this dream of wanting to become the first LGBTQ African American appointed ambassador to the US Embassy in China. I still have this goal, and I'm going to try to see if I can realize it. Stay with me, guys. We'll see how I get down this road, but it was really nice to see. And a lot of people come to China, just start teaching English, and you meet people, you make connections. It's really easy to make connections as an expat in the community as well. In China, like, you're either a foreigner or you're Chinese. And the expat community is huge, and you meet connections, a lot of places to go out and talk to people. There's a lot of opportunity to get jobs here in China. You just have to take the time to find the right one. And the salary, of course, you have to negotiate, but yeah. So this video is getting really, really long. I think I'm gonna divide it up. I'm gonna do another video focusing on working for a foreign company, and basically this video was kind of give my opinion on what it's like working in China, work culture in China. I only focus on 3 aspects, which is obviously that people are hard workers, the friendly aspect of it, like making friends, and also the salary. I wanted to wrap it up with one website that I know, especially for those who are not in China. I found my job that I'm currently doing in education consulting, through a friend. And obviously I'm here in the country, so it's a lot easier for me to find opportunities when you're here in the country. But for those who want to look for jobs in China, there's a website called The Beijinger. The Beijinger, I'll write it down here. There are a lot of job opportunities that are posted on there. I think I recommend that you. I mean, this is only for Beijing though. So if you're looking to move to Shanghai, I'm not exactly sure what opportunities are out there, but I'll do some research and I'll put it in the box down low so that you guys can have a look in terms of like and also LinkedIn is a really good a platform to look for jobs as well. Just making connections, stepping out there, reaching out. And it's not necessarily 100% necessary for you to speak Chinese to work for a Chinese company. It depends on the work that you'll be doing, for example, but it is always good to come to a country and know a little bit of the language, or at least make an effort to learn the language. But if you were living in cities like Shanghai, for example, in Beijing, Beijing less, but Shanghai definitely, it is definitely, I know people who've been living in China for 20 years who can't speak any Chinese. They live, work, have their houses, they're established here, have families, can't speak a lick of Chinese and doing just fine. But if you want to work for a Chinese company and get that experience and acquire a professional level of fluency in Mandarin, what better way to do that than working for a Chinese company? It's a struggle. I struggled. I was working in only Chinese when I first got here, and it was really difficult. It took me hours to read a paragraph, literally a paragraph. It took me hours to read because Chinese that you learn in class is completely different than professional Chinese, and academic Chinese is a completely different language. But I did it, I practiced, I got through it, and now in my current job, where I'm basically working in English and in Chinese, yeah, I'm able to have professional conversations and things like that, and all is practice and perseverance and working really hard and basically wanting to connect with the community around you. That was the source of my motivation. So it's possible. Don't feel intimidated. China is a big place. It's a welcoming place. There's a spot for everybody. Not necessarily I rep Beijing because I live in Beijing. You know, I've lived all over the country, but Beijing for me is a place that I'm familiar with. There's opportunity all over the place. Check cities out, like for example Chengdu. You have you know, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Shenzhen. You know, you have a whole bunch. Hangzhou, for example. Wuhan. Like, there's so many places around the country that are more than willing and welcoming. Yeah, so thank you. Let me know what you liked. If you like this video, please comment, subscribe, you know, comment if you care, share this video, and if you have any comments or have any suggestions for videos that you'd like to see, this is a new channel. Please don't be shy. I am open to ideas. Go ahead and message me down below and check and I guess stay tuned for more videos like this. And hope you have an excellent day. Thank you so much for watching.